What's going on, YouTube? JTISREBORN here, and finally, I have seen Captain Marvel. I've rewatched the entire MCU, and I'm now up to this point of seeing Captain Marvel itself. And, oh man, am I sad to report that the movie isn't very good. I want to give this thing a chance. I've heard kind of mixed things about this one. And it is low-ranking MCU. It is at the very bottom of the list. I was debating whether this one's better or worse than Iron Man 2. But to tell you the truth, there's a lot more I felt like I could enjoy in Iron Man 2 than this one. And even Iron Man 3, as much as that infuriated me, I had the awesome presence of Robert Downey Jr. to kind of carry me through the film. But this one, like, the problem with this one, it's just really, really dull and incredibly boring. And then there's a bunch of retcons in this film. For instance, if you watch the first Avengers movie, they talk about how when Thor came on Earth, that changed everything with the Tesseract, so they were making weapons. I'm like, but like, no, really, what, you forgot about the Skrulls apparently? Like, that obvious, a lot of this movie obviously wasn't a factor earlier on. They really retconned it to make Captain Marvel seem more important going into Avengers Endgame, because she's going to be in the next phase of movies. Even though, really, this movie should have come out after Endgame, I feel like she didn't really have to kind of factor in, because especially like this late in the MCU, I feel like if you're going to bring her into Infinity War, you should have had this movie quite a long time ago before she comes in. But sadly, that really, really isn't the case with this one. So the plot of this one, it's like a memory loss movie, so they're trying to regain consciousness of her. Like, Carol Danvers is having trouble keeping her emotions in check. Jude Law is someone on the Kree. She's a Kree warrior or whatever. They go face to face with the Skrulls, and what they do with the Skrulls, I mean, the movie's been out for a while, so I assume most people kind of know what they did with them. The Skrulls aren't really the villains of this movie, and I think that's probably going to piss off a lot of comic purists. The Skrulls they're misunderstood refugees who are just looking for a home. Okay, I see what you're doing there. And the villain ends up being Jude Law, and it's not nearly as entertaining as he was as a villain in, King Arthur Legend of the Sword. He's pretty generic, he's pretty dull. The problem with this movie, like I said, it's really dull. The humor just isn't there. There's a few bits with Nick Fury where he's kind of funny with Goose the Cat, but then I'm just like, wow, this is totally not the Nick Fury that we know. And even when he loses his eye in The Winter Soldier, which is a fantastic movie, one of the best MCU films, Nick Fury is just like, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. And he clearly says it right then and there. But in this movie, he's like, who's a kitty? Who's a little kitty? Who's a little, oh, could you scratch my little kitty? I'm like, is this Nick Fury? What the hell happened to him? All of a sudden you throw a kitty and there's like, oh, the good little kitty, 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 kitty. I'm like, no, that's pathetic. Oh no. Yeah, so like Nick Fury lost his eye by getting scratched by a little kitty cat. I'm like, oh, this is just dumb. This is just dumb. And like, just the movie itself, it falls flat on kind of like every level. The action sequences aren't very good. It tries to salvage itself a bit towards the end. It doesn't really have any pizzazz or any flair to it. It's just a generic, dull movie. And if this wasn't in the MCU, if you took this movie on its own, I don't think really anybody would care too much about it. It doesn't have really that unique of a style. There's not really much charisma in the film. Nick Fury, he tries. Brie Larson tries, but she just isn't the right casting choice, I feel like, for this type of character. Now, she worked in something like Scott Pilgrim, but she doesn't necessarily work in this type of role. I mean, she's trying to be funny. You're like, oh, you're trying to be funny, blah, 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 I don't laugh. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Then, like, random things just kind of happen, like Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy shows up just to say, like, a few lines, and then he's gone. The Tesseract, how S.H.I.E.L.D. completely misplaced that, I have no fucking clue, because if you watch Captain America, the first Avenger, they fished it out of the ocean, and I guess it's been in S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole time, but apparently not. Apparently it was with this Kree scientist lady, or Marvel, played by Annette Bening, who just kind of kept it there, like, you know, trying to build, like, light speed travel so the Skrulls can get to safety or whatever. I'm like, how did S.H.I.E.L.D. completely misplace this thing? Unless, I guess, she infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and, did whatever it was, but I don't know, like, it felt like a bunch of retcons just to make this film seem more important. And then the Avengers, I guess Captain America is no longer the first Avenger because the Avengers were named after Carol Avenger Danvers. Yeah, come on, give me a break already. I get it. You're trying to make her seem more important going forward, and I understand she's going to play a big factor in the MCU post Avengers Endgame, but really these retcons are just, it just doesn't feel earned. It feels like after the fact type deal. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this film. It's just kind of a dull, mediocre superhero film. It's nothing special altogether, all things considered, and it's just kind of a frustrating movie because Marvel has really done a solid job developing their universe at this point, and even on the rewatching, this one just feels like mediocre phase 1 type stuff. It doesn't really like push the envelope for anything forward. I don't really care too much about Captain Marvel going forward in these films. I'm pretty sure the Russo brothers will do a better job than whoever directed this movie. There's no style. There's just nothing really all that there. There's not too many impressive visuals. The action sequences are dull. Maybe a few jokes will get a snicker, but for the most part, it was just kind of like, it fell flat. The movie didn't have much personality, and it just dragged on. I was struggling to stay awake through a lot of it. I was just sitting there, I'm just like, huh, this is really it. This is the best we can do. And the only reason I feel like this movie is getting any real business is because it's leading into Avengers Endgame, which, you know, I can't wait to see. At the point I'm uploading this video, I think I'm just going to upload it on the Wednesday before I see, or the day before I go see Avengers Endgame, which I can't wait for. I got my tickets and everything in order. But yeah, this film, it's just, I'm very disappointed to say it's not that good. It's right near the very bottom of the MCU. After I see Endgame, I'm going to do an official ranking video on the entirety of the MCU. But yeah, honestly, my favorite part of this film was the mid-credits sequence where it was just seeing the Avengers, the characters I care about, and for Avengers Endgame, which is just going to be a scene from the movie, or maybe just an alternate version. I don't know how it's going to be, but yeah, this one's a real big letdown for me. One of the dullest, weakest MCU films. In fact, it may be at the very bottom. I don't know. I gotta think about it, because Iron Man 2 I have is like the worst MCU film, and like, you know, that one I took some time to think about it, but this one is just my initial viewing. It's right there at the bottom with like your Iron Man 2s or your Iron Man 3s or your Thors. It's just, fuck, even Thor was better than this movie. Oh man, as you can tell, I didn't really like this one. I was just kind of waiting for it to end at this point. Yeah, just considering how much, you know, Marvel has done with this universe, I just expect a lot better from them at this point. It's a dull, generic, bland, mediocre snooze fest. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just, it suffers from the worst crime, though. It's boring, because at least I'd rather almost be like super angry about a film, like that just kind of like pisses me off. Like, I could just at least have more of a reaction. But something that's boring, it's the worst offense you can get in my eyes. It's just a very boring movie, and that's what this film is. It's a very boring movie. Didn't really do anything unique with the scroll concepts. Honestly, I was kind of hoping it would set up something like Secret Wars, but no, the scrolls aren't bad guys. They're goody goods. They're just misunderstood. So can't really do anything there. So this film doesn't really do much to lead into Endgame, except to just kind of introduce who Carol Danvers is. She doesn't really lose at all. In fact, there's really nothing. Like, she just does everything right. Just, there's no real hero's journey or anything like that. It's just her kind of getting her memory back, and that's just about it. Getting her memory back and stopping Jude Law's character, whatever his name was. I can't even remember his name. It's just Jude Law. That's it. So yeah, it's unfortunate to report that this film wasn't very good. So, but anyways, that's all I got to say about Captain Marvel. Come back tomorrow at the time of uploading this as we talk about Avengers Endgame. We have some people here. I'm so amped up. I'm excited. Yeah, Avengers Endgame. Fuck yeah, I can't wait for that film. I'm not going to let Captain Marvel drag me down just for that movie. I don't think I'm going to rewatch this one anytime soon. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend seeing Captain Marvel, but I'm sure most people have at this point because they expect something big to lead into Avengers Endgame. You really don't. I mean, you don't have to really see it at all. I'm sure the Russos would do a better job, but yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Take care now. Bye-bye then. Go see Avengers Endgame. That's going to be awesome. So, all right. Peace.